Hey guys, Deathbyphiw here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the worst of the worst hero combinations that you can have in Overwatch 2. So we're going to do it in 10 minutes and less as usual, so stick around. I'm going to start us off with explaining the three different play styles in Overwatch. There's poke, dive, and brawl. With brawl, you're closing the distance between you and the enemy team and you're pushing forward, kind of like a Lucio Ryan going in, brawling, trying to beat down the enemy team, an Orisa, Lucio, something of that sort. You're pushing in, speed boosting your team in, and you're trying to close the distance with the enemy team and win a fight. Dive is you're approaching usually a singular target, like you're calling out a target to dive on. For example, the enemy team's running a Zenyatta and you have a Winston and a Tracer on your team. You're saying, okay, we're going to dive, we're going to jump on, we're going to go after this target and eliminate that target. And usually you're coming from different directions, so like you're not all coming from the same direction, whereas brawl you're going in almost like a straight line. You got Orisa and a Lucio, or a Reinhardt and a Lucio, and you're approaching and moving forward together as a team to brawl with the enemy team. Whereas dive, you can be from high ground with a Winston jumping in and a Tracer coming from the back line and flanking. So that's where you have dive. Poke is kind of linear, right? You're playing behind a shield like a Sigma and a Zen, and you're shooting in a straight line towards the enemy team, trying to poke them down with your abilities, poke them down till they die, or poke them down to use up their resources and win the fight. So one of the worst combos I think of heroes in Overwatch 2 comes on the support side, and it starts and begins with having a Mercy on your team, and then in a secondary support having sort of any other off healer like a Brig, a Zen, or especially even a Lucio paired up with Mercy. These heroes have different kind of play styles than one another. Mercy is going to be pocketing one hero, usually like a DPS, a Pharah and Echo going up in the air away from the rest of the team, or staying in the back line with like an Ashe or a Soldier 76 or something of that sort with a DPS hit scan or Sojourn. And if you have like a Lucio is doing the exact opposite what this Mercy support hero is doing. Lucio's enabling the team, speed boosting, trying to go in, and is oftentimes not healing as much as enabling the team with their speed boost, because that is the purpose of Lucio. Not to say that Lucio doesn't heal, he just doesn't heal very strongly, and neither does Mercy. I would argue that pairing up Mercy with any other off healer, any secondary support like a Brig or Zenyatta is also a very, very bad idea, and it is one of the worst combos that you could do in the game. Another really bad combo, and I spoke about Pharah and Echo with a Mercy pocket. If you're running Pharah or Echo and you do not have the appropriate support matchup to provide any sort of heals from a distance up in the air, you are going to have a very rough time. Yeah, you could play health packs and play around different things and play safe and come down for heals. However, if let's say you have a Baptiste with a Pharah, Bap can certainly maybe sometimes hit some good shots from a distance to heal them, but most of the time it's going to be extremely difficult to get any sort of healing to that DPS hero all the way up in the air. And I say this as like either the DPS should swap or the support hero should swap to like an Ana or maybe even a Kiriko to be able to provide any sort of healing to those targets up in the air. And if that doesn't happen, then you know something's gonna fall apart on your team more than likely, and you will begin to struggle. Another duo that I think does really poorly together is when you're running sort of like a poke comp or a bunker comp, so to speak. Like you have a Sig or a Reinhardt on your tank, and you're on DPS where you're not basically poking with the tank. So a good example would be like a Sig and a Tracer, or a Sig and a Genji, or a Rein Genji Rein Tracer. Like the whole idea of having this shield is to poke from behind it. And if you don't have a DPS heroes paired up with that tank you're not effectively playing the game the way that benefits you to its maximum capability. If I'm playing Sig, having a Tracer or Genji or even a Sombra, any sort of dive DPS, and solely only dive DPS, and you're running Sig on tank, what will happen is your DPS are not going to be able to do everything that they normally could do if you were running dive tank. So Sig's idea is you throw his shield up, you start poking, you have other people behind it like a BAP and a Zen poking, and then maybe running like a Sojourn or a Cass or a Soldier 76, even a Bastion, and being behind that shield, poking the team down and doing damage. If you're running dive on DPS and dive on supports like a Lucio or a Moira as the main supports going in, like what's going to happen? Sig will be left out in the dark. He's not going to be as effective on tank. So when you do play something like Sigma, think about your choices on DPS and support to support the poke playstyle. Some other really bad combos that I could think of, and I'm thinking from a DPS perspective, if you're playing someone like Bastion and the tank on your team has no shield and nothing really to protect you whatsoever, no abilities like Diva's ability to eat shots, or Rhine shield or Sig shield, nothing to really protect you whatsoever, and you're playing Bastion. So a Bastion combo with a dive tank, any sort of dive tank besides Diva, is just ultimately a very, very poor choice. So that combo of Winston Bastion or Doomfist Bastion or Ball Bastion is extremely bad setup, especially from a DPS perspective, because there's no one there to protect you. You will be a sitting target, a sitting duck, and you will take a lot of damage and not have a very fun time and not play as effectively as you should from a DPS perspective. The same would go from a DPS perspective if you're running Torbjorn with a dive tank like a Winston, a Doomfist, a Ball, and even a Diva. You have your turret up, and you're this little fat target running around, and there's not much for you to do. You're trying to poke from a distance while other players on your team, like your tank, are not there to protect you, not there to do anything to benefit you, and you're just flat out hurting the team with that team comp. I will say, in a competitive setting, people are going to play whatever they want to play, and in any game, like I say, play whoever you like. This video is solely for educational purposes, to give you a better idea of what support heroes or DPS heroes or tank heroes synergize with one another. You can certainly play whatever you want to play. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I think you should enjoy the game and have fun and try to, do whatever you want to do in the game in quick play or competitive. Don't let this video sway you from doing anything differently. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of input from my many years of playing and watching and enjoying the game and being a fan of the game and learning over the years to say like what works best and what's a worst case scenario and what you shouldn't do. Obviously, there's going to be times where these comps work. Like you'll have a Torb and a Doomfist just like popping off and you win the game and it's an easy game. GG, go again, like it's easy. And you'll have times where you're running like a Genji and a Sig, or a Tracer and a Sombra and a Sig, and you have that poke tank with nobody really supporting him, like a Lucio, Moira, Sombra, Tracer, and you win the game. Those games will happen, and that's the beauty of Overwatch and the beauty of playing any sort of competitive game. Different comps just tend to work. It depends on like the player and how good they are with it. I will always say, enjoy the game as you do, enjoy the game as you please. And this is just an opinion video of what I think works. What's the worst situation for different heroes to match up with one another as far as synergy goes. And things work differently across the board in all different settings and facets of the game. As I always say, if you haven't, please like this video, comment in the comment section below, share this with a friend, and please, 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 most of all, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really does mean a lot to me, and it keeps me motivated to continue making videos like this. And as always, happy gaming.